There she is.
I don't know why every time you call on the Facebook gimmick, it doesn't go through right away.
I don't know because it comes through to me. Maybe you've got it set on some kind of mute feature or something. I don't know.
Well, I probably mute the asshole, so
Uh-huh.
probably
You got
what it
the
is.
asshole filter on.
Asshole filter.
Speaking of asshole filters, I have cleared
Yeah.
mine and I have taken your call.
Is that what you had to clear it out first, just in case?
I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. Oh, it took me 2.5 hours to drive 50 fucking miles today.
Yeah, well, that's because
Ridiculous.
you have chosen to reside in a shitty city. Atlanta's
Atlanta's got to have the worst traffic I've ever seen in my life, by far.
Atlanta's there's not. I mean, if you're like, if you put like 20, I don't know how big is Atlanta in the 20 biggest major cities in the country.
It, I I think so. Yeah, I would say.
Let's say 25 just in case. If you put the
Okay.
if you listed like the 25 biggest cities in the United States, and Atlanta being
Right.
among them, and you started like listing under each city of the pros and the cons, I think I think Atlanta is coming up short compared to most of the other cities that would be on that list. Like, there's not a lot of
Uh,
like
yeah.
redeeming qualities to that city to be wanting to live there.
No, I don't think there's any.
At least,
Zero.
I mean, compared to like some cities, Atlanta at least has all the major sports teams. But
They do, but still, I
no,
mean, they got the Falcons. Does that count?
I mean, they're barely, but they have. But in fairness, they've got like they've got a college team, they've got a baseball team, they've got a
They
basketball.
do. Right.
I
Right.
mean, they've
Right.
got every. I'm just saying. I'm not saying they're a good team. It's like the same thing with Detroit. Nobody is accusing them of having a good football team, but at least they have a
Right.
football team compared to like some cities that would be on that list that may be lacking one or two sports teams. That's all I'm saying. That's all. But
Right. But 2.5 hours to go 50 miles, like that is just in fucking insane, Taylor.
yeah,
Insane.
yeah,
But
that's
I saw it all on my drive because it took me off the highway at one point because the highway it's raining here, it's cold.
yeah.
We were 80 degrees for like the last 5 days, and then all of a sudden it's 40 and pouring today.
So
So
right.
people don't know how to drive, so it takes me off the highway. I went through the homeless camps, I went through downtown Atlanta,
Yeah, yeah.
I went past the Mercedes Benz Stadium, which is a monstrous stadium, monstrous. But uh, you know, I
Uh,
mean,
before,
I actually
before
bet
we,
$1,500 though that uh, the Falcons are not going to win this year again. So
you should,
I would take Calvin Ridley on that $1,500 bet any
yeah,
day.
you
So
you should have made it before that. You'd have better odds. You'd have had a
right,
bigger payday. And it would have been as sure of a thing, anyways. You
right.
before we go any further, you owe me a couple of drinks.
Yeah. So when I literally just messaged you and said that I was just getting into the house. I literally just got home because what did I tell you? I was going to be home at what time?
I don't know, 6:30. I'm just saying before we
Right.
get too far in the podcast, let's make some magic happen.
Yeah.
I want to hear
I
some.
thought
I want to hear some glass clinking over there.
I thought I was going to be home earlier, but the the traffic and of course I had to do my daily stop at Publix because what would life be without that, right?
Well, without you like actually shopping for more than one day at a time,
Right. Of
like
course
some
I
kind
shop
of
for the moment.
responsible adult human being.
Right. All right. I got my drink ready to go.
Drink
Here's the
just
Get
one.
ready. Well, one at a time.
All right. I already did a shot. I was kind of
Did
waiting.
you?
Yeah, man.
I
I
think you're way more excited about this gimmick than the actual podcast. This is just an excuse for you to drink.
well, I don't need an excuse to drink. I've got plenty of reasons, plenty of legitimate reasons to start
All right, you ready? Let's
abusing
go.
my liver. Well, I knocked one back, but go ahead.
All right.
I just think
All right.
you're easier to deal
I,
with. I've been dealing with you a lot over the last 2 years. You're easier to deal with
right.
if I'm a little buzzed or
Little buzz.
a little,
Right.
a little loosey goosey, a little whatever you want to call it.
All right. I got one shot of
What are you drinking over
of
there?
I got yeah, look, I told you I got vodka.
What?
Little
I mean,
vodka.
just straight plain vodka.
Oh yeah, I drink it straight.
Tito's, yeah.
Usually,
Well,
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. I like to throw an ice cube in mine because I don't keep my
Oh
vodka.
no 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 no
Because I
no!
don't.
I keep it chilled
Yeah,
though,
okay,
too. I
that's what
keep
I'm
it in the
saying.
freezer.
So mine's a little watered down by the time we do the podcast because
Oh, okay,
I've
okay.
sunk the fucking ice in them and they've
Yeah,
mostly
I
melted.
like to keep mine in the freezer. I actually thought this is kind of psychotic, but I'm building a bar in the house, and I thought about
With what,
getting
like milk
a
crates and a fucking a 2x4?
no. I'm not building it like that. Like I'm like buying one and just putting it there
Oh, like a
in the
a
house.
rolling cart bar or something like that.
So it's gonna be bigger than that,
Mm.
but I thought
You
about
should
getting like
buy
some sort of
you should buy one of
yeah.
those like freestanding outside structures that's like a little like four-seater tiki bar with a roof and an
Yeah,
area to walk behind it, but build it inside your house.
inside the
I think that would be
house.
cool. Like, like
That would be over, I think,
yeah.
with people, right?
It was funny because I was just like flipping. It's funny that you mentioned it because I was flipping through Facebook and some sponsored ads came up. I don't. It wasn't through Amazon. I think it was its own company that they come. You buy one of their four bars versions of a bar,
Right?
and they will deliver and build it for you. It takes them like 90 minutes. Any like painting or
Where is
staining.
this at?
I don't know. I'll see if I can dig it up. I looked at it yesterday. I'm like, oh, this is cool. If I ever own a house, I would definitely have one of these outside. But now I'm thinking it would have been cool inside too. So yeah.
You got to find that.
I'll dig it up for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my third drink that I have here that I'm now on, my sipping drink is going to be a Dr Pepper and Knob Creek, which sounds disgusting and it probably is, but
No, it's probably not going to be.
I didn't want to just drink Knob Creek on the rocks for some
I'm
reason.
actually going to have my second drink and then my sipping drink. I'm going to go with my pink Moscato because I
Pinky,
like the taste of the wine.
yeah, and you like to have your pinky out a lot. So get her done, and then
All right, hold on, ready?
yeah, drop it down there because it's funny that you like you're 40-year-old man and you do shots like a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the older I get, like it's funny because I like didn't like alcohol for a while. I was like, oh, I'll stay away from it. It really does nothing for me. Like I mean, to me, the alcohol is, I mean, whatever. I'd rather
I see. I
like,
know that you're drinking. I know that you're not faking it over there because that like gagging sound was exactly the same sound as the day I called you and you couldn't do the podcast because you were like too sick and coughing
gagging.
and you were coughing so hard that you were making yourself gag, and that was our famous 2.5 minute or
Right.
2 minute
Soundboard.
and 50-second podcast where it was just me
Well,
laughing at you while you were coughing and telling me how sick you were.
well, I was gonna say too is like I like I used to like drinking obviously as a kid, and then there was like a phase where I like really didn't like recently where I didn't like drinking. Like I don't think I had an alcoholic beverage for probably 2 years because I was like I'd rather like smoke a little Tibet, and do that instead of drink the alcohol because like you don't get hungover when you're like a little Cheech and Chong. You don't get
Well,
hungover.
see,
So
my problem is when I smoke, I don't. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me at all.
no,
Except for
no, like
the
it,
one
it
time
just
I've smoked
yeah.
one time. I smoked from Aaron Agony when we were up in uh, wherever Uproar runs their wrestling shows. It's like 45 minutes
Right.
north of Tampa. And he had a joint, and both me and Natalia I took a monster hit off this thing at the venue. The venue was a renovated like CVS. It was called the Verizon Arena, but it was like they had bought a CVS, turned a small part of it into a Verizon store, and the rest of it
Oh
they rented
wow,
out for events and stuff. It's kind of a cool place.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. But we were out in the parking lot, which is a grass field, and I took a monster drag off this thing, and then for like 3 hours, I spent like during the show and a little before, I spent it like trying to just deal with existing. I was so fucked up, and
Really?
she was too. That was the one where where I'm like, they're like, well, why don't we just put you back here behind the merch table and you could sell merch for us, and that way you're not like wandering and getting into trouble and whatever. And I'm like,
Right.
all right. I mean, I sold merch. I don't know how much money I made them or how what I sold things for or anything. I don't remember any of that, but
That's
but yeah,
funny.
that's the only time I smoked where it affected me. And and I've bought weed from Agony before, and
Right.
it doesn't like I bought a bunch of weed from him, and one time I smoked it, it doesn't do shit for me. One time I made it in the butter, and that fucked me up.
Right.
That fucked me up. Now I saw the
Right.
devil a couple of times doing that. Well, I didn't tell you about that. I made butter, and I made like a cake out of some of the butter, like
Hmm.
like I was being like cute, like trying to be
Right.
keto and making some kind of strawberry jello fucking keto cake with weed butter, and
Right.
I had like a big slice of the cake, and I was like, there was no like measuring. I didn't know how potent the butter was. I didn't know like, and apparently I
So
like
you kind of winged it.
I made a monster batch of butter. It was like it would get you high looking at it, and
Right.
I had like two slices of this cake because you have one and you wait an hour and nothing happens. So you have
Right.
another
Right.
slice, and then you're like fucking traveling to Jupiter. You're having a conversation with the devil for an hour. All this shit. I go to
Yeah.
sleep. I wake up. I'm like, I gotta go to work. I'm putting my clothes on. I get in the car. I start driving to work, and I realize I am ripped out of my gills still from this. And I'm driving on I-95 north, and I am freaking out because of all the traffic and the speed. And
Right. Right.
I get to work finally. Like I'm like, I can't believe I got to work without like, dude, I felt like I was on top, like I was Maverick in Top Gun flying against the Russians
Right.
going to work. I go to work. I was going to be just in the fucking shop all day spraying cabinets or something. And the boss was going somewhere and doing like appraisals or
Something else.
installation,
Yeah.
whatever. Literally, the second he left, I walked over to a table, sat down at the table, put my head, like rested my head on my forearms on the table, slept for about an hour, woke up, decided I got to go home, and I just fucking drove home all fucked up. That was my day at work. It was like,
That's
yeah.
it's fun. I
But
remember.
smoking never, the one only time that it fucked me up was that, and I kept accusing Agony of having like laced weed because before, after, weed never fucks me up when I smoke it. But that one
Yeah.
time with Agony, so
Well,
I keep telling him
I got a couple stories.
must have
Then
been like laced with something,
yeah,
and he
it had to
denies
be.
it. He denies it till this day. But me and
Well, I tell you,
Natalia were both like cadoodled. We were on
yeah.
fucking Planet 12, and we both agree that there's no way that was just weed.
I have there's two stories that really stick out with that is with younger days. One was it was Future of Wrestling (FOW). Bobby had done a year end. So Bobby used to do that at the end of the year. He would throw a party, and it would be the year end awards.
Well,
So
sure. When you've got
he would
like when you
right.
when you're running on
You're
stolen
using yeah
credit cards or whatever the fuck he was
right
doing, yeah,
right.
why not have parties? Sure, it sounds great.
So he would rent out like a VFW hall or a venue. I think one year we did it at like a Dave and Buster's or something in the back, in their little conference area. Rents it out, and fans were allowed to buy tickets to come. It was a catered like food event, and then it would be like an award show, and somebody there'd be a host, and then somebody
Like
would
the Slammies.
be right presenters. So
That's
the
tremendous.
first
That's awesome. That
it was
sounds like
it
fun.
was so awesome. So the first year that we were like me and Eric, the Vandals was our first year in FOW, and we were hot. I mean, we were like on fire. Everybody was booking us. We were winning tag team titles. I think at one point we had like the FOW tag team titles and the NWA Florida tag team titles. Like we were, we were champions in like 5 different federations. So the year end awards come, and it's at the VFW hall in You know that little one over that everybody's run wrestling shows in. The ceiling's really low. I
Yeah,
forgot
yeah,
what
yeah.
Oakland Park. Oakland Park. So we we get there and they're like, we're like, I don't know, 19 years old, something like that, and uh, they're like, yeah, Snake Master brought brownies. So we're like, oh, we're like brownies. Like, what is that? Like, why is that such a big deal? Like, the whole event was catered, and they're
Right.
like, no, the good brownies.
Yeah, like
So
magic brownies.
right, so me and Eric we were a little mischievous back then. So he had put the brownies on a table, but like it was like, don't touch these until like until the show gets started. Well, we went over there and, of course, dug into the brownies, and we ate way too fucking much brownies. Uh, so, of course, Snake Master finds the brownie, and he's like, "You ate the brownies," and we're like, "We didn't know." He's like, "I told you." So the show starts, and we're like at our table, like, and I'm like on another fucking planet because we ate so many brownies, and they go tag team of the year, the Vandals, and they call us up there, and the two of us are fucking hammered. So we like make our way up there, and like I'm laughing the entire. I can't stop laughing. Like I'm just laughing the entire time. And he's like, "You got to stop. Everyone's gonna know." I was like, "Well, it's fucking obvious. We look like Cheech and Chong up here." So we get up there, and
You
they're
you
like,
literally should have
everybody's
just thanked Snake Master for the brownies
well,
and got
well,
jumped off the stage.
well, no. So it's funny. So we get up there, and they're like, I think like Rusty was the one who like gave us the award, because he had trained us. So it was
Right.
like, it was a big deal. So he gives the award and like, you're supposed to say something. I can't stop laughing. And Eric is like trying to get through this and he's like, thank you, Rusty. Thank you, Flex.
And of the
And,
two of you, I don't think Eric's the big talker of the two of you.
no, he never would even talk in the promos, right?
Right.
So like we would give him one line at the end just to get something in, but I would be the one always talking. So he like thanks everybody, and then he's done, and of course Bobby is like, "What is wrong with you two?" And everybody's laughing, and I lean into the mic and I said, "We ate Snake Master's brownies," and everybody started dying laughing. And Eric's like, "You idiot!" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Because there's fans there. There was fans that paid to come." And
Yeah, but
I
that's
was fucking
tremendous. That's like
blitzed.
hilarious. Like everyone gets it.
Oh, it was blitzed. That was that time, and then there's two other times that really stand out.
But
The second time, what?
before you get into those, the
Yeah,
you just uncontrollably laughing, and
uncontrollable.
it immediately made me think of that interview that for the podcast that you and
Oh
Blake
yeah,
tried to
yeah,
do, that we have
yeah.
video of, where you and him are both uncontrollably laughing for like 4 minutes straight, and you guys can't like
Literally.
start the podcast. They're struggling, they're loving it, but they don't know what to do. And you and him, it's like one of you will stop laughing and then the other one will snicker, and it just starts all
Right.
over again. I've watched that thing about 40 times, and
Oh, it's great.
every time I watch it, it makes me just laugh out loud. It's hilarious.
Right, right.
Anyway,
Hilarious. So,
what's your other
so the second time
yeah.
was me and Eric were hanging out, and we, we puffed a little bit in the car, and we were driving. He was dropping me off at my house, and like during the drive, I was like, man, I was like, what is in that? He's like, oh, it's some like purple Kush something something. I was like I am fucking hallucinating. Like this shit has to be laced because like we're driving, and I'm like, I feel like I'm in another planet. I was like, this is an insane shit. So we get to my house, and he's like, get out. And I was like, I can't get out. And he's like, get out of the car. I got to go home. I'm like, I can't get out. He's like, what? I'm like, I promise you, no. I just looked into the yard, and I was living with my parents still. I was young, and I looked over and I said, Eric, if I get out, those armadillos, they're gonna fucking attack me. He's like, what armadillos? I'm like, there's armadillos, and he's like, and I look, I vividly remember this.
Oh
I
shit.
vividly remember seeing a yard full of armadillos. Like my whole yard was covered in them, and he's like, "There's no fucking armadillos. Get out of the car." I was like, "Bro, I can't." So he's like, "You gotta go. I gotta go home." So I get out of the car, and he's like waiting for me to go in the house. I'm a girl on a date or
Right, you're
something.
watching.
So
You're staying there,
yeah,
making sure she goes in. Right. Yeah.
right. So he's watching me, and I'm like tiptoeing, and he's like, "Get the fuck in before your dad comes out."
You're.
I'm like,
It's funny.
"Stop!" I was like,
Eric's such a
"Yeah,
gentleman for you.
right." But he was worried my dad was gonna come out, and he's like, "Get in the house. You're gonna fucking your dad's gonna hear you." And I'm tiptoeing, and he's like, "What the fuck are you tiptoeing for?" And I'm like, "Stop!" I'm like, "Stop talking." He's got the window down, and I'm like, "You can't talk. They're gonna hear you. They're gonna know." I gotta tiptoe around the armadillos. So I get to the driveway, and I'm like near my dad's minivan. He had a minivan at the time, and I start climbing on the hood, and now Eric's getting out of the car. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I was sitting on the hood of my dad's car because I thought there was armadillos, and I was like, "They're gonna get me." I was like, "They're gonna get you." He's like, "There's nothing to get me." I'm like, "Hurry up, get on the car." He's like, "I'm not getting on the car." Well, who do you think opens the door?
Your
My
dad.
dad.
Yeah.
He's like, "What the fuck are you two doing?" So I'm sitting on his hood of his car. Eric is standing there like yelling at me, and I'm fucked up. And Eric's like, "Oh, nothing. We were just messing around." And he's like looking at me, telling me like, "Shut the fuck up. Don't say anything." I'm like, "Dad, the armadillos." My dad's like, "What armadillos?" And Eric's like, "Shut the fuck up." So he's like, "Oh, he's just playing." So like my dad goes back in the house because he's like, "Idiots," he's like, "Two assholes." And so Eric's like, "Come on." So he like walks me in the house, and my dad's like sitting on the couch watching TV. And I go in the kitchen, and we had like our kitchen had like kind of like a window that went through to like the living room. Does that
Hmm.
make sense? It wasn't like a window; it was like a buffet area or whatever. But anyway,
Not a window,
so
but an opening. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
opening, right? But my dad can't see me, like from where he's sitting, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can't see his angle. He can't see the kitchen. So Eric leaves me there, and he's like, "Get something to eat, go to bed." All I know, the next thing I know is my dad is waking me up. I am standing in the kitchen, laying, but like my body is on top of the counter. Like my hands are like crossed, and I'm sleeping, but standing up. My dad's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't know. I just put my head down and I fell asleep." He's like, "What are you two idiots drunk?" I was like, "No, no."
Well, how
So
old were you
like
at the time?
I was like 19 years old.
Oh, okay.
So we my dad was like, "Go to bed." So I ended up going to bed, and like the next day he's like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I was just really tired." I was like, I don't know. I laid down." He was like, my dad's like, "You were there for like over an hour," because he didn't even realize because he couldn't see where he was sitting. But when he had got up to come in the kitchen, he saw me like propped up. I don't even know how I stayed without falling. Right. So that was the second time. The most the third time, this is even better. The third time, for some stupid reason, Eric got these like we got them these like weed pills. They were like orange.
I know
Not
exactly what
I
you're. They're like
right
little BBs, right?
right, and they're cold
I've
because they were like in the fridge.
my fucking cousin in New Jersey when I went up to visit one time gave me one of those.
Yeah,
It's like a THC fucking
right.
bomb or something. I know
So
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, they're like little too,
Yeah.
and
They're like
yeah, I think it was
they look like airsoft pellets,
like a
but they're
beef.
orange,
They
right?
do, right?
Yeah.
They're
I
orange.
know
They're orange,
exactly
right?
what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah. So now we were 21 at this time. So we decide that we're going to go to Diamond Doll's strip club because we had friends who worked there. Warlord from WWF, Gonzo was the
Gonzo.
DJ that
Yeah.
we wrestled with. Eric had worked there too, but he was off this night. And Punisher came with us. Big
How
Punisher.
old are you at that time?
21. We're 21.
Okay, I'm like if
So
Eric's working there, it's like, yeah.
right.
Okay.
So we get there and we each pop one of these little BBs. Well, like I don't know, like 20 minutes go by and I'm like, I don't feel anything. This is whack. So I order a beer. I go to the bar. I get a beer, and we had like a little VIP section at the strip club because uh, they all work there. But I didn't tip strippers. I don't get lap dances. I was there for two reasons: one, to see our friends, and two, Diamond Dolls has the best food ever. And uh, listen, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I have taken people there, and they went, "Holy shit!" Because Diamond Dolls hired like a world class chef. He was a legit chef. They hired him because they wanted their food to be just as good as the titties and ass.
Right.
So they hired
Well,
this world
in
class chef.
in theory, back in those days, I think a lot of these strip clubs were still like owned by organized crime, and that
Right,
they just even operating at a loss, they just like it's kind of like Sopranos thing. Like that's where they're
right,
working
right.
out of, and it's like so. Why wouldn't they want their food to be top notch? You know, it's like you're. It's basically like
Right.
they're deciding that like, well, since we work out of here and we're eating out of here all the time, and we're paying a guy to cook for us, might as well cook for everyone else too. So yeah,
Right, right, right. So, uh, the
okay.
food is unbelievable.
I'm
I took,
making
I took.
I'm making notes by the way because I have strip club stories and
Okay.
I'm gonna follow up with you on a couple of these things. But
Well,
go ahead,
I'm just side note. I have taken. You know Lenny, right, from wrestling. Lenny,
Lenny,
Chris,
Lenny
Lenny,
or
Lenny. Yeah,
Lenny?
Lenny. Yeah, the tall, skinnier black kid, light skinned kid.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So one day I took Lenny to Diamond Dogs because he didn't believe me, and he ordered this like Cajun like seafood pasta, and like 3 bites in, he looks over at me and he goes, "This is the damn best Cajun seafood pasta I've ever had in my life." I was like, "I told you." I saw Lenny like 5 years later, and we were talking. There was like a group of people, and he turns to this group of people and goes, "I gotta tell them." And I said, "Tell them what?" He goes, "This guy took me to Diamond Dogs. To this day, still the best Cajun seafood pasta I've ever had."
Yeah,
I was like, "I told you that."
yeah.
So anyway, we pop these pills. I don't feel nothing, so I down a Bud Light. I'm like, all right, I don't feel nothing. So I get a second Bud Light. Well, 30 minutes after taking this pill, 2 Bud Lights down, it hits me like a fucking ton of
Yeah,
bricks.
but Bud Lights
Like,
are like water. I mean, come on.
well, it wasn't the Bud Light that hit me. The pill finally kicked in.
Right.
And I'm not even going to lie to you. I didn't even sit. I was standing on the back wall next to the DJ booth in a daze for like 2 hours. I like everything was just like it was like a movie, and I didn't say a word to anyone. I didn't speak. I just stood there and I just stared. And like Eric had come over and he was like, "You're all right," and I just all of a sudden snapped out of it, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I go, "That was the strangest like time." And he's like, "Dude, you literally didn't move for 2 hours." I was like, "Holy shit!" Like I don't even. But when it like the 2 hours ended and I snapped out of it, it was like I was totally sober. I was like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Right.
Like I it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't know why. That little ass pill
Yeah.
killed me.
It's so funny that I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
my my
It's funny
cousin.
because I don't think many people would.
No, my cousin. I was in. I don't know why I was in New Jersey. I don't know what occasion it was for or whatever. And I'm there at my uncle's place, and my cousin is kind of a screw up and whatever and yada yada. But he was there, and he just felt like it was like we're in the hallway upstairs, and he's like I guess he decided it was a time to like approach me and be like, hey, you know, you're cool, I'm cool. You want one of these pills and blah blah blah. And I'm like, and he explained it was like a THC fucking thing, and it was a little orange like airsoft pellet kind of pill. Exactly, I knew exactly what you were talking about, and yeah, it's kind of like a weapon of mass destruction. That pill.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, but I knew exactly what you were talking about. Probably this.
that's funny that
They
you
were.
did
It's
because not
funny
many
because it
people
was
would.
probably the same time that you guys were doing it. It's probably that thing was popular at the time. So
Right,
so
right, must have been.
so you mentioned strip clubs, which is funny because I I used to hang out with this group. There used to be this chain of comic book stores down here called Tropic Comics, and you know
Mhm.
you'll laugh and whatever, it's comic books, whatever. But the guys that like started this business started it when they were like 16, 17, and they built like a pretty big empire for a while. And
Right.
I ended up like working for them. And so you got these guys that are like 21, 22, 23, 24, whatever it was, with tons of money. And they were just like, so it was like all good all the time. It was like everyone was, I missed the cocaine days of those guys. But afterwards, it was like, I started hanging out and working for them, whatever. At first, I was hanging out with them and kind of helping and whatever when I was still like
Right.
underage. And they had one of the guys, John, ended up like basically running the whole thing, and he befriended a guy named Jeff, and Jeff was the DJ at a club called Treasure Island in Miami back in the
I
day.
remember Treasure Island.
Yeah. I'm listen. I understand. I know you know it.
Okay.
But this was before your time. Trust me, because
Right.
I was still underage to get in there. So every now and then I could finagle my way in, and sometimes I couldn't, and I'd have to like hang out in the car while they had a good time for 3 hours, and I would just sleep in the car.
Oh, wow.
It is what it is, but it depended on the guy. But two things out of that story is that when I could get in, I kept going. We kept going, and there was like the time when like every weekend, some big porno star, and we're talking like late 80s. We're talking like 88, 89, 90, okay? Some big, giant porno star was like touring the country hitting strip clubs. So every weekend you would go.
Right, because that was like pretty popular back then.
Well, that's where they make all their money. They don't make a lot of money filming a porno. But then when you build a name for yourself in the porn industry, you go on the road and you dance at strip clubs and you make a fucking killing. Because you're like dancing and you're getting lots of tips and people are coming to see you, and then you sell merch and you sell like signed photos, you sign videotapes, and you sell Polaroids, which was the big thing because you could. The beautiful thing about a Polaroid, better than like a digital picture, because you get a Polaroid with somebody. Not only is it like a photo that you met the person, but they also sign it, so you get it autographed. So it's like a double whammy. So I was famous in college, through all of college, because I had a album. I had a photo album. Remember photo albums?
Yeah.
With the wax, you pull the plastic page up, and there's wax underneath, and you stick the photos to it, and you put the plastic back down. I had a photo album full of photos with me with naked porn stars. You don't understand how much mileage this photo album got when I was in college, especially like the years. I had 2 years where my junior and senior year where I had the balcony room that was on the back of the building. And I was on the first floor, but on the back of the building, it was the second floor because it was kind of like the building was on a street off of an uphill kind of deal. So everyone what would happen is all of my boys knew that the back balcony double doors of my room were always unlocked. And if they could climb the balcony, if they could jump up to the second floor, and because on the back of the building was the second floor, if they could jump up and climb the balcony and let themselves in, that was the hangout room. So in the hangout room, there was always booze. There was always like, I would be walking home from class and see 3 guys sitting on my patio of my room's balcony, smoking stogies, drinking whiskey, and blasting music out of my fucking room. But it was like the party room.
Funny.
And so, but that album was basically like, for my dorm room that I share with another friend, was basically like the coffee table book. Like when everyone had gone through that thing a million times. Because
it's sitting there,
it popped the shit out of people. I'm going to do another side tangent. I was dared, because when they do a yearbook at my art school at RISD, Rhode Island School of Design, it's only for seniors, the yearbook. And it's a giant book. It's like 15 inches tall, maybe 18 inches tall, like 12 to 15 inches wide, and like 3 inches deep. And it's all black and white pages, but on newsprinty stuff. But it's like a giant, thick tome of a yearbook. But the only people that get listed are seniors, and everyone gets a page. And I was dared to submit. You could submit any photo you want for your page. I was dared to submit a photo from the
album.
From the album. So I picked the most obnoxious photo. The porn star was not a famous porn star, but the photo was me standing there. I had like a t-shirt and shorts, like half thigh, like khaki shorts. And the porn star was like bent over, cupping her naked tits and sucking on a dildo that had been, that she had put in my fly. that was coming out. It looked like I had a giant dong. So in this in this
That's
yearbook
great.
with and like listen, LGBT sensitivity was big at our school back then because we were in art school. We're still like talking like late 90s. This was like 1994. But there was a big push then, like for LGBT, and it rightfully so. I mean, no, but we were like at the forefront of that stuff because we were artists and whatever. Um, Graduation came around, and
Right.
I got booed at graduation by like a little group because they had objected to my fucking
Oh, they were
to
mad?
my yearbook picture because it's so like I don't know what's the word, misogynistic or whatever it is. I don't know which term is right, but I caught so much heat from these people, and no one like, of course, no one comes talks to me. But like, fuck it. I was dared. I had to submit it. Fuck it. I'm not
Right.
gonna back down from a dare. To the point where when I was home after I graduated college for that summer, my mom got a letter from one of the students. It was addressed to my mom, like
Oh,
to the parents of Ben Temples, and it was like they sent the entire page of the fucking of the
what
yearbook,
the fuck?
and with a note like how offensive and blah blah blah. And my mom got the letter. This is how cool my parents are. My and I'm the first child, so like they even
Right.
got cooler after four. But by the time I got home, she gets this letter, and she like it's like I don't even remember what it said, but it was a little bit of a diatribe and whatever else. But my mom like read the whole thing, looked at it. She just comes, knocks on my door. I even had a friend there at the time. We were hanging out doing something, like playing fucking video games or something.
Yeah, right, right.
And she just like kind of like nonchalantly flips the letter onto my bed and goes, "You've got fan mail," and fucking leaves.
Oh, fan mail?
And it's like this, and it's the whole big picture of like a blown up Polaroid of me standing there with a dildo hanging out of my pants and a topless. Well, she was fully naked, but she's bending over, cupping her tits, sucking on this dildo
Oh my
with
god.
like some kind of like. It wasn't just that she signed the Polaroid. There was some kind of personalization to it. I don't remember what it said, but yeah. And so
Wow. And your mom's called it fan mail. That's the
yeah,
best
she
part.
didn't give a shit. Like two things. Like he's
Right.
already graduated. Like what does she care? He got a degree from college. He graduated. That's my job is done. Whatever he wants to do from now on, it's not my problem. But
Right, right.
yeah. So but that's the strip club part. So this guy Jeff, that was the DJ of the strip club. Uh, as time went on, when I was started going to college on the summers, he had started to work a partnership with the guy that owns the comic book stores, and he opened up like his own store, like co-opened it with them, so they had like like I don't know, like co-owners of a store, and he asked me to run it for the summer, and so I ran it all summer, and the beautiful thing was that like when we closed at like 8 o'clock at night or whatever, I had to
Right.
like then like do all the paperwork and put the money in a bank bag, and I had to bring it to him a lot of times at the strip club. And so then I'm like
Oh,
now, even though I'm still kind of underage, I'm allowed to go. He was now working at the Crazy Horse, and the comic book store he bought was also on Federal Highway, so it was like a 5 minute ride up the street to drop everything off to him. And so on certain nights, he's like, hang out. And so we'd hang out, and I'd hang out in the DJ booth all night, and girls coming in and out because he's running them basically because he's the DJ. And,
right.
we're a little couple drinks, and I'm like fucking 19, 20 years old. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we used to go to Diamond Dolls a lot because Eric worked there and Big Eric, Punisher and Warlord
yeah.
and Gonzo, and
It's
we
only,
went there a lot.
strip clubs are only fun when you've got like a connection. If you're just a
Right,
paying
right. 'Cause-
customer, it's garbage. But
Yeah,
if you're
and
like,
it was
if you
funny
got
because
stroke and run of the place, and you
right.
quote know someone, it's a much more fun time.
So we had like at the bar, the backside of the bar had like 4 or 5 seats on the backside, and behind you was a wall, and it was like really away from everybody. and there was a sign put up that said VIP, so that when we came, that's where we would sit. So anybody that we would bring with us, we would all sit there. We would have our own waitress who would, bartender would give us our drinks and our food. 9 times out of 10, I never paid for anything.
Right.
We would just throw them a tip. We didn't pay for shit. But it's funny because we used to go, and if all the girls knew, you don't go to that side because they're not here for that. They're here
cheap
to eat
fucks.
and just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hang out, right? So there'd be like a new girl who would come, and she would, kind of get over, and she would get close, like she started to get close, and like she would get kind of close to us, and then somebody would, stop her and say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, not these guys." And what? Why not? Nope, no, they're not. They're here for other reasons. Like, and everybody, they all knew you don't come and bother us.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. But
dude, those
were the days, man.
those like for us the early, and then when I graduated, here's the thing: when I graduated, and then I'm back
Right.
home, and it's like 94, 95, I ended up working back at that comic book store, and the owner, John, and I, and 2 other guys ended up renting a house. And
Really?
at some point, we were going to the Cheetah 3 to 4 times
Right.
a week. 3 to 4 times a week. Where we're like basically I almost started dating a girl from there because I saw her all the time. And then when I
Right.
told her I had a girlfriend, that made her more interested in me, because, like I turned her.
Right, right,
it was all
right,
this crazy
right.
stuff. But like we were going like 3 or 4 times a week. And this is like
Yeah, so were we.
to
Easily.
like where the one of the guys that he rented, and we were renting a house, and one
Right.
of the guys was basically like the garage had been converted into like a separate residence kind of. And so he
Right.
was living in the garage, and like we didn't know that he had been going more than we had been going, and we had been going 3 to 4 times a week. And
Yeah.
this guy Billy, he was like a drummer in a punk band, super cool dude, but like when he drank, he could be a problem sometimes. I remember going to the Cheetah 3 with him once, and he was relentless with this stripper to the point where he was like she kept like talking back to him, and he kept firing back to the point where he got her so mad at him that like he's facing me and she's walking away from him behind him, and he muttered something that she heard, that she grabbed one of those wooden boxes that they would stand on to dance for you, the table
Right.
dances, so they were a little elevated, and she was running at him, about to like crown him with it from how
Really?
mad he had gotten her. And some like bouncer like at the last minute saw this and intercepted it before he like literally like a beat before he got fucking crowned by this wooden box. Like
That's
those were
funny.
the,
Yeah.
those were the fucking
Those were the days, man.
Those were the
they
days.
were, right. Me and
This
Eric
was-
talk about it all
this
the
was
time.
before
like,
they-
it was just, ugh.
When I went, it was before they allowed lap dances down here. So it was it was a little more like, it wasn't all like now, ever since they allowed lap dances down here, I think it became a swinger kind of thing. There's
Right.
more couples at strip clubs than there used to be. And I think a lot of it became like, all of a sudden, instead of having like a range of people, like this one girl that like really liked me at the Cheetah 3, she was basically stripping to save up money to buy a hot dog cart. Remember when they used to sell hot dogs
When they used
on the
to,
side of the
right,
road
with the girls
in the bikinis,
Yeah.
and then they outlawed
Yeah.
that because they were causing too
They
many.
did outlaw it.
They were causing too many accidents.
you know,
she was
let-
saving
let-
up for one of those.
Let's explain to everyone. So in South Florida, sometime in the 90s, the hot thing was you have a hot dog cart where they would like cook hot dogs in this cart on the side of the road, and the girl serving the hot dogs would literally be in like a G-string,
Like
thong
G-string,
bikini.
T-back kind of, yeah.
Right. Bikini on the side of the road, and every guy coming home from work was stopped there to get
Yep.
hot dogs.
Yep.
Well, I was a kid at that point. Our school bus in middle school would pass by it every day, and every day you got a bunch of middle school kids yelling out the window like "Whoa!" Like hooting and hollering, and the bikini girl would do a little shake for us, and we'd be like, "Yeah, yeah."
That's so funny because I was like she came and hang out with me if you thought, like we flirted, like I had basically had a choice at one point of dating
Right.
the normal girl or the stripper, and who knew that I chose poorly, but you
Right.
know, yeah.
And so goes your life.
You know, it's what else is funny is my brother. Here's the other part of it is that my brother was a huge porn collector at the time. Had like you remember the spindles of a hundred
Yeah.
DVDs that you could burn from your
Yeah,
computer.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He must have had 8, 10, 12 of these spindles full of DVDs. And he's like, I'm just like, dude,
Wow.
what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. I just fucking like download it and record it and I watch it. And I'm like, all right. And I'm like, give me a stack. He hands me a stack. The funniest thing is that on one of the CDs off of one
Right?
of the spindles that he had many of, I just randomly get one that has her in it, the girl that in
Yeah.
it doing one of those Randy West up and comer videos that
Right, right.
he
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
film
yeah.
in South Florida.
Yeah.
I'm like
That's great.
I'm like, oh,
And you know,
I
it's going back
recognize
to the
that girl.
hot dog cart. I remember like because I was in middle school, so I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years old, and every day used to pass. And I remember one day we come up past, and the most brilliant idea ever. A guy set up a flower stand next to the bikini hot dog stand, so all the husbands who felt bad getting a hot dog from the half naked lady would turn around and go buy a dozen roses from the flower guy to bring home to the wife. And I was a kid and remember I would always go, that guy is a fucking genius.
Yeah.
He saw an opportunity and thought, I could if I just put up a thing, roses $9.99 or $10, all these guilty motherfuckers are gonna go, I gotta buy my wife roses
Like,
now. I just spent 20 minutes with a naked lady over here selling me hot dogs, half
well,
naked woman.
well, because they come home with their breath smell of Oscar Mayer and 2 drips of mustard on their shirt. They are guilty.
Right,
They're guilty of something. It may just be
right,
buying a
right,
hot dog from a girl in a bikini, but you don't know how like fucking jealous your woman is. So
right,
you might as
right,
well have
right.
a batch of roses in your hand.
Right, right. Make her forget about it.
Because
Right.
it's not
And
like
then I
because
remember,
it's not like the women weren't aware of these fucking hot dog vendors
oh, of
either.
course they were all over. This was Yamato Road in Yamato and Glades.
Yeah, well, we had them down here
Sorry,
too. Yeah.
Yamato and Lion. But I do remember that after a couple months, the flower guy, he either must have like he figured it out, or he wasn't doing sales that much, or maybe he was just tired of working because the same truck was there, but he had a girl in a bikini selling the flowers. I'm
Yeah,
like, this guy just upped the fucking ante.
yeah,
He
yeah.
took it to the next
Well,
level. Like, this is brilliant.
that's just a smart businessman, to be honest with you.
So smart. Right. Right.
So
So
what?
those are the days,
So
man.
I'm curious. What was the popular drinks when you were like in high school?
So I mean, what we used to drink was Captain Morgan. Had to be Captain Morgan rum. It was no other. It was Captain Morgan and Coke. Captain and Coke.
That's it.
I
You
drank
didn't
those.
have any like because when we were
Well,
when I
Goldschlager.
okay, Goldschlager was with us too, but more
Goldschlager.
like when we were in college. Yeah,
Goldschlager was popular, and then what was the blue one? Avalanche, I think it was called.
I don't know.
Avalanche, and then uh,
We
do
had
you remember?
we had Zimas like in college and like in
Yeah,
my
we didn't drink
20s.
anymore.
We had, but we did a lot of wine coolers like Bartles and James
Yeah,
and
yeah,
shit
yeah, we
like
did
that.
wine coolers too. That was always
Like
that was like the gateway.
wine coolers were like the big thing when we were in high school.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, wine coolers too, because they were easy to get, and
Yeah,
they were. And then we used to have like a corner store that would sell. They would sell alcohol to anyone. They didn't give two shits. So we would walk over there, young as hell. Well, I think we were maybe in high school, but they would do those. What are they? Mad Dogs 2020s. They had
yeah,
like different flavors,
yeah,
and we would always drink those because they would never ID us.
yeah. What's
So we
funny
would,
is like the place that doesn't card you. When I went to college, that first year in Rhode Island, it was so funny. We went to this liquor store and we're like fucking freshmen, so it's like we don't even
right,
it's not even close to like that we look 21 and none of us had
right,
fake IDs. But what happened was we were buying some stuff and I think they had to card us for something like maybe someone was buying cigarettes, but I was paying for it. So I pulled
right.
my ID out and he's like Plantation, Florida. And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I used to work at the Crown Liquor right on Davie and University,
Oh wow,
Davie
right
Road."
there.
And
Right.
I go, "Oh, I used to live in that fucking subdivision, right? Or I still live in that subdivision. So like
Yeah.
he became my boy. So from freshman year on, as long as that guy was
Right.
working at that liquor store, I had the hookup. Like it was like it
Wow.
didn't even matter. It was like hometown fucking. All we would do, we would trade a couple of South Florida stories every time it came in.
Right.
And it was like I'd be like he would two things. He would never ID me. I'd just bring whatever I wanted up, a bottle of Goldschlager, a 12,
Right.
a 6-pack of we used to drink Old German because it was the cheapest fucking.
Right. It was cheap. Right. Right. Yeah.
But it was like that or Mickey's or some of those types of beers.
Right.
They were so bad. They were such cheap fucking beers that you could drink half of one of those and you'd wake up with a headache the next day.
No, literally, I was gonna say you would wake up with a headache, no fail.
Yeah.
If you drank one of those, no fail.
I don't know why we like Mickey's so much. Other than that, it was cheap. It had a cool Hornet logo, and like they were called like Big Mouth or Wide Mouth bottles.
Yeah, yeah.
And they had like extra big, like it wasn't a normal size beer opening. It was bigger. So, but anyway, yeah, it was like every time I would go there, we'd be buying drinks. I'd be buying drinks for everyone, and because again, like I said, that eventually I had that dorm room for 2 years with the balcony, so every weekend was like party at my place.
Party Central.
Yeah. So, but I had to hook up with this guy, and then I turned 21, and it didn't matter anyways. But I never got carded since the first time I visited there as a freshman.
Yeah, we had the guy with the corner store, and it's funny because our corner store, not only would they wouldn't card us, they to this day I hands down would say they made the best turkey sandwich sub I've ever had. They had the softest bread. Their turkey was like delicious.
Of course you're fucking buying sandwiches at a liquor store.
Oh,
of course
yeah.
you are. What was it like?
No, it was a corner store.
67 liquors or something like that.
No, it was like a mom and pop corner store, but they sold like liquor.
Yeah.
In the back, so they had like a little deli counter. They did breakfast sandwiches. They did lunch. Yeah, it was so good. Yeah, so good. But I was supposed to tell a New Japan story, but at this point, I mean,
well, go ahead and tell
I feel like we're past that.
Well, you teased it from last week, right?
I did from last podcast.
So fucking tell it.
No, I feel like it's not as good anymore. We just told some really good stories.
All right, save it for next time. I do have, before we go, I know you're just looking at the clock, and that's why you don't want to tell it. But
yeah,
I know you. Come on, I know you.
No, but I also feel like it doesn't go with it.
Who cares? Because I'm going to give a Blake update.
Talking about
I'm going to give you
weed and booze.
I'm going to give you a Blake update because you were asking about his food situation was going to be. What happened was, I told you that he messaged and he was like, is anyone doing anything for food? And I said, I don't think so. I don't even know if Marco's coming over. If Marco was coming over, maybe as a group, we would have ordered like pizzas or something. But I also knew that Marco was coming from his in-laws' house and that probably they had eaten. So I had relayed out to Blake, and Blake's like, okay, I'm going to do the Blake thing. I'm going to just grab some stuff on the way over there, which of course means he's late. He can never like...
Well, I saw that he said he was late.
He could never like... Be like, well, I know I've got to grab food, and I know what time the thing starts, so let me, and I would say, like, he came with his girl this time, if I didn't have precedence, I would have said, well, the girl may have been running late or whatever, but he's always like this, so I can't blame the girl on it.
Right.
So he shows up with the girl, first time meeting her. She seems nice, friendly, not very talkative, because as soon as the two of them get on the couch, she's like, sleepy and is like kind of not into the paper, like she's not into wrestling that much, so
right. Why would he bring her? Right.
Well, I mean, be like meet my friends or whatever, I don't know,
or maybe
whatever, or be like, well, if you want to hang out, like maybe she want to hang out with him Sunday night, and he's like, well, you could hang out with me Sunday night, but I have to watch this pay-per-view,
right,
so you're gonna have to sit through it to be with me. I don't know, but he shows up with a bag of food, like takeout bag from some restaurant, okay? I don't know where he went. I didn't ask.
Right.
But like about halfway through the pay-per-view, he goes and starts diving in.
Right.
Can I tell you?
So he waited a little bit.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was, whatever. He wasn't hungry yet, or he hadn't smoked yet to be hungry. By the way, that's another story. He smoked, and then it was like You could set your clock on a pay-per-view at my house that Blake attends.
Right.
That at some point, either in the main event or the match before the main event, that Blake just nods off. He nods off. He passes out. He comes in and out of consciousness to jump in and out of a conversation that's going on. Like almost
he's not sleeping though.
He's like out of it, but then every now and then he pops back into the conversation, and then you go and answer him, and you're waiting for him to talk, and you see he's back asleep. And the way he talks is like very mumbly, and like you have to work really hard to understand him. So there's that, but also this might be why it affects him. He may be passing out from a little of the recreational stuff, but he also may be passing out because he ate eight containers of sushi.
8?
He had 9, but
who the fuck eats 8?
He had 9, but he said she had 1. The other 8, like the Publix ones, or the ones you would get from where it's a black tray with a clear top.
Right.
8 of them.
That's a lot.
It's a fucking lot of food. And I'm like doing the math, like how much money does he spend on this? Like 8 times, like I don't know if they're $10 a piece, $8 a piece. They ain't $4 a piece.
Right.
I'm like, holy shit. Like, god damn.
What the fuck?
He ate 8 of them.
Yeah, I saw the picture of him knocked out with his lady friend.
Oh, that Marco took?
Yeah. Good picture.
Yeah.
Good work.
I mean, listen, like you fall asleep at someone's house, the pictures are gonna be taken.
Oh, right.
It's just
Either that or you're getting like, like a ball sack on your forehead. That's what we used to do back in the day.
With her
fall asleep at the hangout house. Next thing you know, someone's ball sack's on your fucking forehead.
Right. With her there, I was a little like I listen. Next time you've given me an idea, he will be wondering what that warm sensation is on his forehead.
His forehead, right?
Right. Why is there some 98.6 degree thing on my head?
right. Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell the New Japan story next podcast. This went sideways, but it was a good. I think this was a solid podcast.
Well, because we talked about strippers and strip clubs and weed
and alcohol. I mean,
and getting high
yeah. That should be the name: strippers, weed, and alcohol. Because if that doesn't draw people in, I don't know what will these days.
So we're gonna call it strippers, weed,
and alcohol,
and alcohol.
That'll bring the fans in.
Oh my, like lions, tigers, and bears.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh my.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, I gotta go make dinner. So
I know. I hear the metaphorical.
I got a headache.
Oh, you should hydrate during these things. You're not supposed to drink all this fucking alcohol and not hydrate. You're like an amateur. Yeah. Like I got to hold your hand every step of the way with this.
Yeah. I know. All right, I'm done with you. I gotta go make my mini cheeseburgers on my Hawaiian bread.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm probably not eating. All right, dude. You have a wonderful night there, and hopefully things work out for you.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.